the Kirlian Biofield camera. In 1939, inside a small Soviet laboratory hidden away in Krasnodar, Russia, a maintenance technician named Semyon Kirlian and his wife Valentina stumbled upon an unexpected discovery that would echo through the world of fringe science for decades. While repairing high-frequency electrical equipment used in hospitals, Kirlian observed something unusual. When a patient's body touched a high-voltage circuit without causing pain or injury, it produced a brief yet distinct flash of light. Intrigued, the couple set out to recreate the phenomenon using photographic plates and controlled electrical fields. What they captured shocked even them. Images began to appear, showing leaves, insects, and even human fingertips surrounded by glowing halos of colored light. These were not reflections or burns. The effect remained even when the object was placed on insulating material. Kirlian claimed they had recorded something the human eye could never see, unaided the living energy field of matter. The images were vivid, almost otherworldly, and remarkably consistent. In some cases, when the subject experienced emotional stress, the glow changed in shape and intensity. When the subject was ill, the aura appeared dimmer. But one image in particular defied explanation. A leaf was torn in half, with only one piece placed on the plate. Yet the resulting photograph revealed the outline of the entire leaf glowing faintly, as if the missing half still existed in another form. The Kirlians repeated the experiment multiple times and obtained similar results. They named it the phantom leaf effect. To them, this was not just photography, it was a window into an unseen dimension. Technically, the camera worked by applying a high-frequency electric field to an object placed on photographic film. The resulting corona discharge, visible as light, was explained by conventional scientists as a natural reaction of moisture and ionization. But Kirlian's findings suggested something far more complex. When photographing fingertips under varying emotional states, he recorded dramatic changes in the patterns and colors of the glow. A healthy individual's fingertips showed sharp, radiant bursts, while those of someone depressed or ill appeared faint, faded, sometimes even broken. These patterns did not follow any consistent thermal or electrical explanation. Soviet medical institutions began to take interest. The technology was even explored as a potential diagnostic tool, including early cancer detection. But as curiosity grew, so did opposition. The Kirlian camera became linked to parapsychology, mysticism, and spiritual energy subjects that clashed with the materialist ideology of the time. Western scientists dismissed the images as simple electrostatic effects. Meanwhile, Soviet authorities placed increasing restrictions on the couple's research. Funding was cut. Their laboratory lost its status. And then, without explanation, the most compelling images, those of the phantom leaf, the collapsing aura of dying patients, and other unexplained anomalies, were locked away. When researchers from outside the USSR requested access to the original equipment, they were refused. Many of the original photographic plates disappeared from archives. Only low-quality reproductions remained. After the fall of the Soviet Union, fragments of the Kirlians' notes resurfaced, but most of their work was never recovered. Valentina died in 1972. Semyon passed away in 1980, both in relative obscurity. Their research was dismissed by mainstream science, yet quietly discussed by those who had witnessed the results firsthand. Today, variations of the Kirlian camera still exist, mainly within alternative health and spiritual communities. However, none have fully replicated the original phenomenon, or at least none have done so publicly. If the original device truly captured a layer of reality invisible to the human eye, then perhaps life emits more than just light or heat. Perhaps it broadcasts a field of information, one that lingers even after the body is gone. The Tesla consciousness lens. What if Nikola Tesla didn't just experiment with electricity, but accidentally saw something watching him? In the spring of 1895, inside a chaotic New York laboratory filled with crackling coils, copper wires, and flashes of electricity, Nikola Tesla was working on something the world was never meant to see. This wasn't about power or wireless energy. This was something far more unsettling. Tesla called it a vibrational filter, but in his private journals, he gave it a different name, the consciousness lens. According to fragments of his notes, Tesla believed human thoughts were more than brain activity. He theorized that consciousness itself produced a subtle frequency, a signal hidden beneath the noise of reality, and he wanted to detect it, not read minds, but prove that consciousness could exist without a body. The device he built was unlike anything before it, not a simple lens of glass, but a complex structure of bismuth crystals, polarized quartz, and layered metal discs arranged in a spiral. It was mounted on a copper frame, placed between two massive Tesla coils, and powered by intense electromagnetic resonance. Then came the final test. Tesla adjusted the frequency to 7.83 Hz, the Schumann resonance, often called the Earth's natural heartbeat, and that's when everything changed. The air inside the device began to shimmer, not violently, but subtly, like heat rising from the ground. Then he saw it, a flickering shape, right at the center of the lens. It pulsed, it moved, it hovered, and then it disappeared. There was no one else in the room, but Tesla wrote something chilling in his notes. I felt observed. The very next day, he collapsed. His assistants called it nervous exhaustion, but Tesla never spoke about the experiment publicly again. Privately, however, he began suggesting something radical, that the brain does not create consciousness, it receives it, like a radio, tuning into signals from somewhere else. And his lens may have briefly revealed one of those signals. After the incident, Tesla sealed the device in a steel box and abandoned the project entirely. Years later, living alone in the New Yorker hotel, he claimed he was in contact with forces beyond human understanding. Most people dismissed it as the decline of a brilliant mind. But modern analysis of Tesla's recovered diagrams tells a different story. The materials he used, bismuth and quartz, combined with rotating electromagnetic fields, closely resemble concepts now explored in quantum resonance research, even theories about the zero-point field. Then, in 1943, after Tesla's death, the FBI seized all of his documents. They later claimed nothing significant was found, but witnesses reported something strange: a separate wooden crate, removed quietly, never recorded, never seen again. So what did Tesla really see? Was it a hallucination caused by exhaustion, or did he momentarily glimpse something beyond our reality? Something conscious, but without form? To this day, the original lens has never been found. Only fragments remain scattered across archives, private collections, and classified files. But if Tesla's device truly captured even a trace of disembodied consciousness, then everything we believe about the mind, about life, and even death may be incomplete. Maybe we are not creators of thought. Maybe we are receivers, and somewhere in the vast ocean of unseen signals, Tesla, just for a moment, tuned into something that noticed him back: the soul-weight balance. What if the human soul had weight? On April 10th, 1901, inside a dimly lit hospital room in Massachusetts, a physician named Duncan McDougall prepared for an experiment that would challenge both science and belief itself. In front of him lay a dying tuberculosis patient, placed carefully on a specially designed industrial scale. The room was sealed, silent, controlled down to the smallest detail. McDougall's goal was simple, but deeply controversial: to measure the weight of the human soul. As the patient took his final breath, something strange happened. The scale flickered. Then suddenly, it dropped. 21 grams? Gone. No movement. No visible cause. Just a loss. Unexplained. McDougall didn't stop there. Over the following months, he repeated the experiment 5 more times, each with patients in their final moments. And in 4 out of 6 cases, the same pattern appeared: a sudden drop in weight within seconds of death. This wasn't guesswork. The scale was calibrated to the milligram. The environment was temperature controlled, air displacement, bodily fluids, every known variable accounted for. McDougall believed he had removed all doubt. But what he found created even more questions. When the press discovered his results, Headlines exploded. The soul weighs 21 grams. Overnight, McDougall became the center of a storm, caught between science and the supernatural. But the scientific community pushed back. Critics questioned everything: the sample size, the methods, the repeatability. And yet, McDougall stood firm. He claimed he had not proven religion, but uncovered a measurable anomaly. Something real, something physical. Then came his most unsettling experiment. This time, not on humans. He repeated the same test on 15 dogs, all under sedation, all at the moment of death. And this time, nothing happened. No weight loss, no sudden drop, nothing. McDougall believed this proved something extraordinary, that whatever left the human body did not exist in animals. His critics accused him of bias, of forcing meaning into flawed data. But McDougall refused to turn to theology. He insisted, this is physics. Within a year, everything changed. His funding was cut. His equipment vanished during a hospital move. The hospital itself publicly distanced from his work, and no major journal would publish his findings. In 1920, McDougall died, still convinced he had witnessed the moment the soul leaves the body. But the story didn't end there. Decades later, others quietly tried to replicate his experiment. In the 1980s, a group of German scientists used modern hospital beds equipped with digital load sensors. Their results were never officially published, but reports claimed they observed brief, unexplained weight fluctuations at the moment of death, not caused by gas, not perspiration, not muscle relaxation. And then the team disappeared from the public eye. Years later, in 2003, a researcher gained access to McDougall's original notes. Inside were handwritten charts, data logs, and one chilling observation. In the single case, the weight didn't drop after death. It dropped 3 seconds before. There was no explanation, just a short note written beside it. Departure, anticipate cessation. If McDougall was right, even once, then something measurable leaves the human body at death. Not breath, not memory, but presence. And if that presence has weight, then where does it go? The spirit voice receiver. In 1959, deep in the Swedish countryside, a filmmaker named Fredrik Jürgensen set up his tape recorder to capture bird songs near a quiet forest clearing. The session seemed completely ordinary until he replayed the recording hours later. The chirping was there, just as expected, but beneath it, faint and almost hidden, was a human voice. It spoke in Norwegian, called his name, and whispered, "Fred, can you hear me?" Jürgensen had been completely alone when recording. No one had spoken. Yet the voice on the tape was clear enough to be undeniable. Disturbed but curious, he began experimenting further. He recorded long stretches of silence, tuned radios between stations to capture raw static, and carefully listened. Again and again, the voices returned, sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes barely audible, sometimes urgent, some addressed him directly. One voice, however, stood out above the rest. It sounded like his deceased mother. This phenomenon would later be known as electronic voice phenomena, or EVP. But at that time, Jürgensen's setup was purely analog reel-to-reel tapes, a directional microphone, and radios with wide frequency dials. What he seemed to uncover was not just random noise, but something that felt like a window into voices that were no longer bound by space or even life. The messages were often fragmented, sometimes meaningless, but at times disturbingly relevant. When he asked, "Who are you?" the response came back, "We see but cannot touch." As word spread, skeptics dismissed the recordings as auditory pareidolia, the brain's tendency to find patterns in random noise. But interest grew, and soon other researchers began investigating. In Germany, Hans Bender reportedly replicated similar results in controlled environments. In Italy, Father Ernetti and engineer Marcello Bacci took the research further, using modified radio equipment to capture clearer, longer responses. During one demonstration, in front of scientists and journalists, a device produced a voice claiming to be a deceased relative of someone present. When asked a private question, something only that relative could have known, the voice answered correctly. Witnesses later described the atmosphere in the room changing, as if the air itself had grown heavier. Attempts to capture EVP using modern digital devices produced inconsistent results. In fact, advanced noise reduction systems often erased the voices entirely. It seemed that only analog technology, imperfect, unstable, filled with static, allowed the phenomenon to occur, almost as if the voices needed the chaos of interference to exist at all. Although no official government investigations were ever confirmed, several independent research projects reportedly lost funding without explanation. In one case, a university in Belgium shut down a parapsychology study after recordings repeatedly captured the same chilling message in multiple languages. They are listening. They will close this. Within a year, the lab was gone. Skeptics continue to argue that EVP is nothing more than coincidence, signal interference, or the subconscious projection of the human mind. But none have fully explained why the voices often respond directly to questions in real time, or why they appear only under specific conditions: silence, isolation, electromagnetic disturbance, and emotional intensity. So, if these voices are not illusions, then what speaks through the static? Are they echoes of the past? Fragments of consciousness trapped between worlds? Or something else entirely, something still aware, still present, waiting for the right frequency to be heard?